All right, welcome back to the Retro Sports Gamer channel. And this is a retro sports gaming special. And we are talking all NBA Jam TE tonight. We have one of the main co-hosts, Nick the Commish.
Hey, guys.
And we're here with two NBA Jam TE world record holders and also the champions from last year Friday Night Retro. We got Ryan11p.
What's up?
And Kevin Cabarello.
Cheers, everybody.
Out there in the snow, where are you at, Kevin?
I'm actually at work right now. You know, I wasn't able to get some free time, so I just had to find a good quiet spot. But unfortunately, it's snowing out here, so it's just damn dedication to the craft. You know, you got to do what you got to do for some jam.
Dang right.
That's a true champion. True champion right there, Kevin.
So I figured tonight, guys, we'll go over a little bit of the tournament last year and also the finals. We're going to take a look at each team and talk about what tier we might think each team falls into, and then we'll let Nick talk about what's coming up this Friday at Friday Night Retro. So, Kevin, Ryan, you guys won the championship last year. Tell us about that road to the finals, NBA Jam TE, 2-on-2.
That's it, Ryan. If you want to start us off on that one, so you can bring us up the good exposition or something.
Okay, so last year, Kevin's really good at NBA Jam, and I remember playing it in high school. And so when the tournament was announced, I decided that I wanted Kevin to be my partner, but I hadn't played it really since high school, so I kind of came in cold. And in the first game, we played Aranga and his buddy or whatever, and we had Orlando and they had the Bucks, and it was a close game, and we almost didn't even make it out of that game. Aranga, and then what we ended up doing was kind of got with the Pacers, and then went the rest of the way with the tournament with the Pacers, who are like at best a mid-tier team, and I just kind of got in a rhythm and was able to, play, and me and Kevin are really good friends, so I think the communication was there, but my skills progressed quickly as the game went on, and we were able to just kind of work really well together as a team.
Yeah, I definitely say we definitely after playing with the Pacers and it didn't go so well, you wanted to be your hometown Indiana Pacers, and it's like, that's fine. You kind of got to be Reggie Miller the whole time, and I just was Rick Smits or McKee, and I just shoved a bunch of people and grabbed every board and just threw it to you until you made threes. So it was good. It worked pretty well, and just kind of keep Reggie on fire was that was sort of our kind of easy mentality for the tournament.
And then Nick, you could answer this question from the chat. Do you guys turn on tournament mode to eliminate computer assistance?
Yeah, we do that. We do that. I kind of was in the way that, like, because everybody remembers Jam having every game close, with the computer assistance on. But for this big tourney, we definitely put tournament mode on.
So Kevin and Ryan, on your way to that championship, did you have any tough competitors before you met me and my brother in the finals?
I mean, I'm not trying to sound disrespectful, but like I said, I figured it out pretty quick. And Kevin's really good at the game, and my skills progressed rapidly. I mean, we were beating people by 50 and 60 points until we played you.
Yeah, I saw you guys had some close games earlier in that tournament. Not throughout the whole game, but at least in the first half, maybe 3 quarters. But watching you guys play, I thought me and my brother could take you in the finals, but it didn't turn out that way. So what was your strategy going into that game?
Well, I mean, just we'd pretty much we were talking about earlier. It's first couple of games were kind of close for us. Sure, I think it's a combination of us just trying to how Ryan and I had never really played as a team together in NBA Jam before, but so we were just kind of like getting our feet wet, just trying to figure out what to do. And like Ryan said earlier, it's like Ryan really picked up the little nuances, intricacies of the game. It's just a big like going into playing you guys. It's like you and your brother definitely knew what you were doing. It's just trying to keep tight checking, or I guess just shoving people a lot, which I think is very important in that game. It's and I mean, I think throughout that entire game that we were playing against you guys, we were really going back and forth. Like nobody was up. We were both trading buckets, or no one was really up more than like 1 or 2 points each time until probably that fourth quarter at the end, where we were able to kind of pull away a little bit in the end.
Going into the fourth, did you guys have anybody that was over 10 injury that had to start the fourth, either team?
No, I mean that was the key. The key to the whole game, Segathon, was the fact that me and Kevin had usable guys, and in the fourth quarter, Tom and his brother had to pick between like a 17 injury guy and a 10 injury guy.
Yeah.
And then me and Kevin, Rodman was the guy that we targeted real heavy, and by the end of the game, Rodman couldn't even get down the floor. And so against Tom and his brother, it took us 4 quarters to do it, but when it came down to it, we were just better in that game at injuring his players. And that's the bottom line. It came down to, if he would have had his guys as healthy as our guys, we might not have won, but it just turned out to like where we had the injury advantage, and it caught up with him big time in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, my perspective is pretty much similar to Ryan's. I felt like in the first quarter, I'm like, oh, we're better than these guys. But we had a couple missed dunks, and we probably could have been up like 6 to 8 points and then ran with that. But I think the gap was only like 2. So then after that, they kind of, equaled us, and we weren't pulling away from them at all. I thought the other big thing in the fourth quarter is you guys had a 3-point shooter, Reggie Miller, and we didn't. So you were able to knock down a couple threes to get the score up a little bit more. And when you're dealing with the Spurs with Rodman, Robinson, and Elliott's going to be the only guy that can hit threes, and he's not in the green on that attribute. So you guys played a great game, and it was fun playing you guys, and hopefully we could get a rematch one day.
Yeah, absolutely. Get some lots of time or something. Do like a best of 7 or something. Make it something special, because that really was a hell of a game that we had at last year's Friday Night Retro out in Madison.
Now let me tell you this though, and Tom, I have a feeling we'll probably be seeing you and your brother again this year. But this entire year since Madison, I've practiced at a very high level, so it's going to be a little bit. It's going to be a little bit different this time. I feel like I'm just. What do you think, Kevin? I mean, I'm legitimately better than I was when I played last year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's you're like, because I ended up playing a couple of little games with you out in at Tundra Bowl a couple months ago. It's definitely good. You beat me in a couple games of 1-on-1, which is something that I am not familiar with when playing NBA Jam. So it was a little humbling, I suppose. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about that, because since last year, you guys only upped your play, and then what was it that came about at Tundra Bowl 5, where you're like, we're going to do this world record attempt? Who set that up for you guys, and how much did you beat the world record by?
Well, me and Kevin had been thinking about. Kevin went on a world record tear for a while with setting the single game record, and then me and Kevin kind of thought about it, and we looked up the team differential, which actually I think Segathon had it, and we were like, well, when are we going to be together? And it turned out that we were going to be together at Tundra Bowl. And so I contacted Retro Nathan, because I'm pretty decent friends with him, and I just said, hey, like, me and Kevin are going to do this world record. Do you want to stream it or not? And he was like, of course, it would be a great bracket filler. When we're filling out the final bracket, we'll stream it. And me and Kevin played a couple practice games, and then which we broke the world record in all the practice games, I think, and then we played one for real that was for the record. And then Kevin can kind of elaborate on the details of the record.
Yeah, like my knowledge of just the record, I didn't know anything about it. I was just playing NBA Jam, and like a local buddy of mine he does a bunch of stuff, or used to be like a judge for Twin Galaxies. Just happened to see one of my like random streams just for fun, and he just kind of pointed out, hey, like the stream you did, like playing like one player, like that's like 2 points from the record. And it's like, I didn't even know that there were records, and I didn't even know like Segathon was part of it. So it has more fuel to the fire. I gotta take him down a peg. It's,
yeah, totally. Because I found it when we were doing it. When I looked on there, like, oh man, the record was like
39
before I broke it or something, and I was like, it was like sent in by VHS. So I'm like, so I got me and my buddy did it, and my buddy barely played it too. So, but it's fun to go and just reek. I mean, it's all that fourth quarter when both guys look like they got shit in their pants on the computer team and they can't make it past the free throw line.
Right. But yeah, it's and so, like Ryan just said, it's after trying to do some like single player world record runs, and yeah, it's like I found out Ryan was going to Tundra Bowl, and I guess he had talked to Retro Nathan and said, hey, we need filler of 35, 45 minutes to figure out seedings for the Tecmo Super Bowl tournament. It's like, how about we just have this little, fanfare thing on the side? And it's just like, it seemed like it kind of fit perfectly in that equation. I don't know if anybody really watched it, but you guys have seen enough like Tecmo Super Bowl tournaments online where it's like there's that big like 45-minute lull where you're like staring at the same like folding chair and like the same three walking back and forth with a beer. And it's just like, hopefully that was, it was just something else that was there on the side. So,
what did we break the record by, Kevin?
I think 19 points. I think.
So what was our total?
I what we do 68 or 69? I don't have it in front of me or anything.
I thought it was like close to 70. I don't know.
I should bring up that Kevin also has the individual Sega Genesis point differential world record.
And that's really high, isn't it?
Well, it's to update that actually. It's the guy that used to have the record. He ended up taking it back now. So, like it's I had the world record at what it was 90, like winning by 96 points, and now this dude it was a Hal Hawkins who runs a bunch of tournaments out kind of in the Texas area. Super good player and everything, loves retro gaming and whatnot. But yeah, he ended up taking it. It's up to, I think it's at like 104 or 105 right now. I mean, he just took it to the next level.
Did he use the Rockets again?
No, like in the original one, he did the Rockets. This time he did it with a Golden State.
Okay, yeah.
He was doing some interesting thing where he instead of like kind of going for like an easy jam kind of thing real quick, he was taking Tom Gugliotta, just, like you got him right on the screen right there at Segathon, just sevens across the board, just banking threes.
Ding, 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 ding. What's it's jackpot Gugliotta, sevens across the board.
And so he just made it 9-0 and caught fire real quick, and that's a good way to get some extra buckets is to be able to get some wide open three shots. But I'm going, off the tracks here on the topic at hand. So
we got a message from the chat from Chad saying, I don't know about the Genesis version, man. Player momentum doesn't play a factor. Do any of you got a comment on that?
What does he mean by momentum? By like movement or like hot streaks? You can go on fire.
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the Genesis version, from what I've seen, it's easier to run up the score on the computer if you're just playing, if you're not playing human opponents. But yeah, we'll have to get some clarification on that question.
Genesis has two kind of like we were talking about, like Kenny Anderson is a tall guy in the game, is one goof up, and the other thing I've noticed is, and it's not on here, you can block it. But Tim Hardaway's stats are all messed up on the Genesis game. He's got like 9 block and 3 speed, and it's all goofy.
All right, so I would say, just watching some streams from Kevin and then also seeing the Tundra Bowl stream of you guys breaking the world record, I would say you guys are probably the favorite. Going into the 2-on-2 NBA Jam Friday Night Retro 2 tournament, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but for now, let's take a look at these teams and prepare some people that would be playing in the tournament, because we're going with the rule this year that you can only use a team once. Is that correct, Nick?
Correct.
So you kind of have to spread out which team you're going to use. Are you going to use the mid-tier teams first? Are you going to use a lower-tier team? And then are you going to save your higher tiers for later? So we're going to go through the teams to give you guys a better indication of who you should pick and when. So let's start with this first team, Nick.
Well, should we go like top down? What is our consensus number one pick? Is it the Rockets? Is it the what are you thinking? Kevin's probably the smartest out of everybody on this. Who would you
that's
say
a
is the
sentence
number
that's
one?
never been said in my life, but okay. I mean, it's the team where I had the record breaking with it, and that's with me and Ryan on the doubles. We were Houston. I mean, I think we probably have a general consensus. They're certainly one of the 3 or 5 best teams in the game. We might as well start with them, right?
Yeah, and like I think like the big thing there is the dream is just. Can you guys see my screen okay too as I'm talking?
Yeah, yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, you're good.
Maybe let me try something here. Let me try sharing. Go back to here. Share. Close Pornhub, and here we go. So let's go. Can you guys see this okay?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the Rockets here. So here's kind of their layout here. The big thing with Olajuwon's just a stud. As he's got that speed, power, block, dunk. So he scores at random. I made a great point on doing the team recaps is even though he's got only 2 for 3 point, it doesn't really matter because you're going to get hot and then everything goes in for 3 point, and then Big Shot Bob, he's got one of the highest point totals in the game. I thought he did have the highest point total at 55, but actually Morning's got 56. But he's got it all in the right spots, and just a great second fiddle. And then of course Thorpe, even though he's kind of average across the board, it's not bad. And that 7 power, and it's kind of crazy that he's got a 6 3-pointer. That's not in his wheelhouse for sure as a player.
The thing about the Rockets that separates them from a lot of other teams is the fact that they have such high power numbers across the board. That makes them harder to injure.
That and with a combination that all of them where they have Olajuwon has a 9 in dunks, or he's like a 8 and Thorpe's a 7. I mean, it's like they're powerful, and like if you need a quick 2 points or something, it's like they're really hard to get off the ball or knock down. Just putting any of them in the lineup, they're just strong all the way across.
And all tall guys.
Yeah, and you're not going to block their dunks very often.
Now that's one thing. I think blocking dunks is kind of an art form. Like I would say, first of all, the people that might be watching this getting a little scared doing jam, 98% of the rest of the guys playing in jam are picking it up since either last year or 6th grade 1992. So go in and play. It's going to be a lot less like it's. Tecmo is. I got a lot of buddies that have tried to play Tecmo now, getting into it, but it's just like a buzzsaw with the high quality pay. We're in the early stages of the NBA Jam. Ryan and Kevin are outliers in this situation, but dunking I think is harder than it looks. Like if I was a new guy just coming into play, I wouldn't worry about the big block stat as much as the other ones if you can't pull it off on those slam dunk blocks.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty good at blocking dunks, and when Kevin's the Rockets and I'm somebody else, I don't even try to block it because it's just gonna hurt. It's just gonna hurt my guy. Yeah.
Oh, so they just run it over. They just run him right over.
Yeah, he's gonna run my guy over. Even if I have a high block guy, it doesn't even make sense. So I try to hit Kevin before he even is able to dunk it.
That's a good point. What we really need is Brewdog to open up the guts of the game and figure out what actually things mean and what are just fluff, like John Elway's pass accuracy. But no, that's a good point. I didn't know that. So you're dunking over it. So if it's Olajuwon dunking on Mutombo, normally Olajuwon's going to get that dunk through.
I mean, in my opinion, Kevin, Kevin is the closest thing to a Brewdog NBA Jam guy that we have. So, what do you think, Kevin? You think Mutombo could block Olajuwon?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. Really, it's just and this is the thing where it's like I would love to, if I knew more about the guts and the inside of the game, I'd probably be better at it. It's like I have, and this could be just a misconception that I have, but I really think that any player that is, again, like the sprites, there's just the small player and then the big player. There's no discrepancies like there is in like the arcade version. Like their heights aren't like wild. So, but I feel like any big player can really just block any other big player. I don't know exactly how much the actual block stat works because I mean there are times like I'm trying to think like I can block a ball with like Jeff Hornacek even though he has like dippity squat in blocks, but you know just because he's a big player, I think maybe there's just like you have a bigger frame window to be able to like get that like sweet spot of blocking them. That's something I don't know. Like it's but I'd like to think that I'm pretty good at timing it. So, but it's probably also just I've played the game 100,000 times. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer than that, to be honest.
Yeah. Because there is that thing about short guys that it does kind of mess you up playing just in general when you're used to playing. Because I would say 75% of the guys, 80% of the guys in the game are big dudes. So you're normally just going to get short, fast guys, point guards for the most part.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you're new and you want to come play at Madison, just remember one thing is you typically want to have all three tall guys if you can make it happen. Short guys are kind of tough.
So let's go over to a team with a short guy now.
Yeah, Nick, you want to start? Let's just start with Golden State. Well,
okay, you want to go down?
We'll give a quick 20, 30 seconds on them, and then we'll just keep going from there.
Okay, gotcha. Can you see the stats okay on this? Or should I go to the screen? Excel.
I can see them.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that your screen Segathon is good enough for what we're trying to do.
Okay. Gotcha. So I love Golden State. I love them so much that I have a starter jacket from 7th grade on Golden State. The big thing is you're going to get probably people are going to put their foot in their mouth because they say they love Golden State, and they're going to get to here, and they're going to play, and they're going to go, where the fuck's Hardaway and Mullen? And Hardaway and Mullen are NBA Jam 1, great duo, and they're unlockable at NBA Jam TE, but we're not playing unlock because you have to put in a code to unlock all the rosters with a bunch of different things. And these Jam chips don't have batteries. They have this other type of saving mechanism. So a lot of times they don't really work that well trying to unlock the code. So we're just going on the 3-on-3. But on this, the best thing about these guys is Tommy Gunn, 7.77 across the board on speed, 3-point and dunk, 8 power, 5 block, just an all-around good guy. And then Latrell, I got my family to feed Sprewell, another Timberwolf, playing on Golden State. A little slower, but has that nice 3-point, has that 8 dunk, and a little less powerful, but has an 8 block. They're so goofy with the ratings of NBA Jam with this power block happening, right? And then you got the enforcer Ronnie Cycli coming in off the bench. He's got that 6 power, 8 block, 8 dunk, just to kind of rough up, kind of what these guys. He kind of feels that Otis Thorpe mode where you get him in there, and one of the big things is he's going to be pushing and pushing and pushing because that fourth quarter is when the chickens come home to roost. And if you got one guy with a 10-plus injury that can't be subbed, that's where all your hay's made.
So just a real quick breakdown for them, like for a new player, they have all three of their guys are tall guys, and that's a top 10 team in my opinion. Golden State is a top 10 team. So you could be comfortable playing Golden State with any of those better teams. They're really solid.
You got anything, Kevin? You good?
I would say Golden State, if you're going to make a deep run, you're going to use Golden State. They have all tall players. Gugliotta and Sprewell are both pretty much good at everything, and Cycli can come in with some blocks. He's a little bit slow, but they're a team that you'll definitely have on your radar to use.
I'd say I'd use them as a leadoff hit. I think it's a good team to get your feet wet with, not wasting a top team. It's a good, safe team, I think.
I agree.
Next is we got the LA dog shit Clippers. They're probably not going to make the team, so it'll be kind of quick. The big thing is they got Pooh, who's got a lot of speed and a lot of 3-pointers. And then Stanley Roberts is super fast for some reason. He's a big old fat center, but he's got an 8 speed. That's Stanley Roberts, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah.
And 5 power. He's got an 8 steal. It almost looks like they messed up on his stats, the way his stats are for what kind of position he is with only a 4 block. Then you got RIP Malik Sealy as your third guy. You know, they're all just kind of average across the board. You're probably not going to use them. What do you guys think?
You know what they probably did? They probably said no one likes the Clippers and no one's going to use them, so who cares about their stats?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if you're new, cross them off your list. You don't want to be the Clippers at all in this tournament.
Yeah, take them off.
They're hot garbage.
I agree with Ryan. The original NBA Jam has Danny Manning and Ron Harper, and they're a team that you would use. They actually made the playoffs, but in MTE, don't use them.
No. So now, this is kind of a sad deal. Is the power teams of the 80s, Lakers, Pistons, Celtics, are not the studs that you think you are where you're going into Jam. On this one for Lakers, Worthy's is a locked character, so you don't have James coming in there. And with these guys, again, it's probably not a team you want to use. One, because I think Van Exel's he's fast, but he's a shorty, and he doesn't really got anything else good for him. Anthony Peeler, 0 power dude, has 8 speed and 7 3-pointers, so you got something going on. And then you got Vlade with a beard, Divac, so you can actually tell who he is on the court, which is always nice. But, you know, he's got the 7 block and 7 dunk. But, again, probably not a team you're going to use unless you're wearing purple and gold at NBA Jam.
Yeah, again, the Lakers are probably the worst or the second worst team on the game. Cross them off the list. You don't want to be them if you're coming to this tournament and playing for the first time.
Yeah, I agree. Just anybody that's both LA teams are just kind of hot garbage. I mean, it's they have they have okay players, but they don't have, like, if you want to try and win like a tournament game or what have you, it's try and go far. They just don't have that, like, that extra it factor. They don't have like a game breaking player on their team, which is something that you're going to need. And yeah, for the Lakers and the Clippers, it's just something they both sorely lack.
Yeah. You want Magic. Where the heck's Magic?
What I will say about the Lakers, the semifinal round last year before we played you guys, the guys that we were playing, at least one of them was wearing Lakers gear. I don't remember if both of them were, but they played excellent with the Lakers.
Really?
It was back and forth the whole time. I think we won that game by 1 or 2 points, and we never separated ourselves by more than 4 or 5. So even though statistically they're not looking good, they can still be effective because those guys proved it. And if they're playing in the tournament again, I don't remember their names, they will be a force to be reckoned with, even if they use the Lakers.
Oh, God, I hope that they play us and they use the Lakers. Please let that happen.
I think this is one good time to segue into that. A lot of these guys everybody's coming from like a Tecmo background for the most part, because that's why you're coming here. You're coming for Tecmo. There's less of a tier. It's not like a Colts 49ers matchup with these guys. It's like a Raiders Patriots matchup or something like that. When you guys say there's not a Joe Montana team out there compared in a Colts team.
There's nothing completely definitive, and in that same vein you're saying, it's like, it's this game you only have 3 players to contend with. You're not dealing with with full rosters and you have 40 different players, and this team can exploit this player because of you pick play X and what have you.
Yeah.
Well, then the other thing too is it's such a free-flowing game that, like, like he was talking about those guys being good with the Lakers. Imagine what they would have done if they had the Rockets. They were probably pretty good at NBA Jam, so that means that they moved well and they defended well and they shoved well. If they had a good team, they might have done more or beat Tom even more.
All right, next up, Phoenix Suns. Now, the first caveat here is there's no Barkley. Barkley was in half the NBA Jam original games, but he wasn't like a all-out stud. But they have a nice team here. Kevin Johnson's nice and fast. He does have the shortness, so you're not going to get any blocks. He's got not much power, but 8 speed, 7 3-points. It is something you got going. 7 steal when you run out of turbo. That does kind of come in and help when you got to swipe when you run out. That's one thing I think a lot of people are going to go. I'm going to get a lot of people that are going to come to me at this thing and say, hey, my controller's broken. But what normally it is you're out of turbo. and you're doing then that's when you end up doing the steal instead of the push. You got Danny Manning, who was a stud on the Clippers before, and he's got that googly out of stats where it's just like the jackpot, that 7 speed, 7 3-pointer, 7 dunk. He's got a 6 power and a 5 block. Just a nice serviceable guy. And then you got Thunder Dan Marley, another 3-point specialist at 8. So you got all 3 guys have at least a 7 or higher in 3-point. It's a little slower, a little less power. I think that what's going on here, what you're going to have problem is you don't have much for block. You don't have much for power. So you gotta really go with the 3 ball and moving.
Now, I would say that if you're like new to the tournament and you're just coming here, kind of be really leery of the Suns, because if you play somebody that's good at pushing you, you're going to get annihilated with the Suns, because they're, like you said, Sega, their lack of power is a problem for them.
They're like an Indy car. They're super fast, but in a demolition derby, they might not fare too well.
All right, I don't have much to add on the Suns. I think you can use them. You just got to be prepared for who's on the team. You got
to stay away from the contact, I would say.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. They're probably 1 year removed from their finals run, and from losing to the Bulls, maybe 2 years removed. The big thing here, let me try to pull them up on this other one here so I can kind of go what's going on. Clyde the Glide, I think he's a little underrated in this game from what he was at that time. 7 speed, 6 3-pointer, 4 power. You got that classic fade bald face on there. He's got a 9 dunk, which is good. So you're going to be dunking on guys that they're going to try to block. Terry Porter's kind of a wild card. He's super fast. He's got the 3, but he's also a shorty. So you got that going. And probably the saving grace of this to keep the D. They're starting to look like a Phoenix team again. But then you got Cliff Robinson coming in there with 8 power, 9 block, 7 dunk to kind of keep you guys with some grit and grind.
That's a team that if you're new and you're coming to the tournament, I think that the Trailblazers are like borderline usable. I think that they have enough. Porter's a pretty good little guy. Actually, he's little, but he's pretty good. I personally, like don't want to be the Trailblazers, but like Tom said, they're kind of like the Suns, borderline usable. Would you say that, Tom?
Yeah, they are a team you could use. They have the speed and the dunking. They have some 3-point shooting. They got a little bit of everything. So they're a team that you could use, but they're not the team that's going to push everybody around. And that's a lot of times what you're going for an NBA Jam team, because not only is pushing the most effective way to get the ball from your opponent, but it also injures them and makes them a lot slower. So that's kind of the key thing when you're playing in this tournament.
All right, next up is that beautiful green and yellow, RIP Seattle Sonics. This is definitely one that people remember, all 3 name brand guys from the NBA Jam years. The Rain Man, Sean Kemp's going to be your big guy there with that 8 speed, 8 power, 8 block. Fun fact, it says 9 dunk in the stats, but I have found a program where they opened up the Super NES stats, and he's actually got a 10 dunk in that game. So my guess, and it translates over here too. So he's actually got a little bit higher dunk than almost everybody else in the game. Peyton. Now, is Peyton a short guy in this game? I can't remember if
he's not.
No, he's not.
Big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's big, but the one thing about Gary Payton, the guys that have that low block, when they go up to actually block the ball, they do like one of these. They don't just go straight up.
Really?
So Gary Payton does a lot of that, so it's going to be tougher to get the block with him.
That's a great point, Tom. There, I didn't know that was part of that. And then Detlef, he's a little slow, but he's got that 8 power. It's really based on Sean Kemp being your stud there, but you want to make sure he's sitting on the 3rd so he can come out in the 4th and dominate.
And for the new people, the Seattle Supersonics are a usable team. There's somebody that you could use, but they're like, when you look at them, if you're ranking your teams in the top 10, they're outside the top 10, but they are usable and they are good. So
yeah, Supersonics, deep run, they're a team you would use. If you have a dominant player, say, it's 2-on-2, the other guy's not as good as you. If the guy who's dominant is using Sean Kemp, he's one of the best players in the game.
Yeah.
And Cliff and Peyton are both good supporter guys, and they're both tall guys, which is going to help out. Their skill sets kind of different, but they're a team that you could use in the tournament for sure.
And I think nobody's got a great 3-pointer. Highest is 6. The other two got 5. But you can do some damage with a 5 3-point if you're shooting farther in. Don't shoot at the top of the key. If you're shooting after the elbow bends, you'll definitely make your fair share of threes. All right, final one of this bracket is Sacramento, which has just the big swing and dick of Mitch Richmond. He is just a stud in this game again. 7 speed, 9 3-point, 8 power. Those are I always think the speed, power, and 3-point are kind of where you're at. He doesn't have much for a dunk, but you don't really need him to be. Then you got the slam dunk champs, Spud Webb, who's going to be teeny, of course, but he's got that 9 speed and 8 dunk, but no power. And then you got kind of a stinky third player with Simmons. Really bad. He's 35 total points in all, which is just dog shit. It's like when you're thinking Big Shot Bob's got 56, Richmond had 47. So he's going to be a liability on the court. So it's one of those Sean Kemp kind of things, I think, where you just shine with Richmond.
Yeah, and if you're
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say if you're coming to this tournament and playing for the first time, to me, this is a team that you cross off the list. You don't want to be the Kings.
See, when me and my brother were preparing last year, we were able to be pretty effective with the Kings, actually, with the Mitch Richmond Spud Webb lineup. Spud Webb, because he's so fast and he's got that dunk, he could be really effective. And then, as Nick said, Mitch Richmond is a stud. If you could get by with Simmons in 2 quarters, you can use them. I would say they're a mid-tier team, not a team you have to look out for to use.
So to recap this first of 4 groupings, Golden State is a team you're definitely going to use. Every other team is getting a little less. Probably Seattle's number 2, guys, wouldn't you say? And then,
absolutely.
Yeah,
then Sacramento, Phoenix, Portland. Sacramento, Phoenix, Portland are teams that if you get farther in the tournament, you might want to use. Don't stay out of LA. Totally. It's filled with smog and shitty NBA Jam TE players. All right. Moving on to Dallas. Now, Dallas is a fun little team. Anybody plays the computer, they've probably played the Dallas Mavericks a lot because they're normally the first team you play when you're playing the computer. This one we did recap on the site. The big thing here is Mashburn. He's just a stud. He's better than Kemp. He's got 8 speed, 8 3-pointer, 8 power, 7 dunk. I mean, just another stud across the board. Jim Jackson, not a short guy. He's got that 8 speed, 6 3-point, a serviceable guy. And then, of course, is the record scratch. Terry Davis is the worst player in the game, so you probably don't want to be the Mavericks.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. They're like a worse version of Sacramento.
Yep, that's a great way to say it.
Yeah, they're generally unusable because of Davis, but they are all tall players. So if you can get the Mashburn Jackson lineup in there at the right time, I would say 4th quarter, then maybe you can put it in there if you're playing a lesser opponent, if you kind of know it going in, but otherwise don't use them.
All right, here's next up is the Denver Nuggets. They got that great kind of Stockton Malone kind of thing when you got Mutombo, who's got the 8 power and 9 block, 8 dunk. Only 1 and 3-pointer, but you're not going to really use him for that. 5 speed, so he can move enough. And then you got Muhammad Abdul Rauf, who he's a short guy, but he's got 8 speed, 9 3-pointer, and he's actually got 4 power, so a little bit more for a little guy to get things going. And then LaFonzo's kind of a glue guy, where it's all 6s and 5s across the board, just enough to. That's the kind of guy you want as a third player as a minimum, is kind of where Ellis is at with a 6 speed, 5 3-point, 5 power, 5 block, 6 dunk. It's enough to get things done and muck it up.
Man, I really like the Denver Nuggets. They're one of my favorite teams to be. I would say if you're gonna make a deep run, you could definitely use the Nuggets. But then on the opposite, Kevin hates the Nuggets and he hates
really?
Rauf. Oh God, I have to like it's like pulling teeth to get Kevin to let us use the Nuggets. I'm like, come on, Kevin, I'll be Rauf, you can be Mutombo the whole game, and he's like, man, I effing hate Rauf. Like him and Rauf and John Starks are Kevin's kryptonite. He hates
What's
both of them.
let's hear the counterpoint from Kevin then. What's wrong
Yeah.
with Denver?
I don't know. Maybe it's just personal preference or something. Just anytime I'm the Nuggets, I just about Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Just for some reason he doesn't make a three for me. And then in the same vein, we'll get to John Starks later. It's like John Starks just like he clangs every dunk off the rim and it flies 10 feet in the air. And they're both like they should be stronger players than what their stats indicate. Like I said, maybe it's me. It's like just like with Tecmo for you guys. I'm sure there's like some team. There's like one player that, regardless of what the stats say, you know, they just don't live up to the hype for you personally, you know. And for me, like the Denver Nuggets, like definitely are like a mid-tier team. Like if you're going to make like a long run in this tournament on Friday, especially with like the only can use the team once rule, like Denver might actually be a team that if you're going deep, like you might want to play them because they do have a good combination of power, speed, Rauf on threes, and Mutombo just being a big beast.
Yeah, I would say they are the definition of the mid-tier. They have the star player, Mutombo, who could dunk and block. They have the short guy who's fast and can shoot threes, and then they got LaFonso Ellis coming off the bench with just solid stats overall.
One strategy you can use on these little guys that have no dunk and shoot the three and are fast, you can come in on the jump on the blocking those 3-pointers, and normally you can block those guys because they're just short if you come in and time it right, because they're normally not going to try to go by you. Because when the guy gets it with a 9 3-point guy and he's little, they want to just hoist that three right away. So that's one thing. All right, we went them to Houston, stud team, top
We
of the
already
list.
went over Houston, didn't we?
Yep. And then we got the greatest team ever from the greatest state ever, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, okay.
Kevin did a good write-up on these guys. You know, like I said, that there's a little flash when you got that Ryder 8-9 speed and a 9 dunk. So you got a guy who can get to the rim. And then what's crazy is Doug West isn't that great of a 3-pointer because I've watched the Wolves forever, but for some reason they give him a 9 3-pointer. So they can do, again, they're a high low tier team, and then Christian Laettner's dog shit. He's that just not that great a player. 0 passes, always loved him because that's the kind of player he was.
Yeah, clearly there's like some UNC fans that were part of making the game here.
Hey, but doesn't he make every like last second shot or something? Isn't that some weird thing, Kevin?
Doesn't he have like a 9 clutch or something? I don't recall because I'm not very well versed in Minnesota because they're
No, for some reason Doug West has got a 9 clutch too. So yeah, I don't know what they were doing with the Minnesota Timberwolves. But definitely a team you're not going to use. But Ryder's fun with that 9 speed and 9 dunk. You can get to the rim.
I would say they're usable, Nick.
Yeah,
they have all big players. Isaiah Ryder can fly up the court and dunk, and then West got the 3-point shooting, so they're definitely usable.
Would you put them under like a Phoenix, Portland, or in the same area?
It's sometimes the tall player means so much, and Laettner, even though he has a 0 pass, I think that's probably the least important statistic. So he's usable, and you might if you don't like changing to a small player, then they're a team you could go to, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, like I would rather be Minnesota than Portland.
Okay, that's good feedback there. All right, wet your whistles, guys. Here comes a big one. But Tom, how about you start this one off because this was your go-to team.
Yeah, the Spurs are a force to be reckoned with, especially that Rodman-Robinson lineup. The strategy there is just to beat up your opponents, push them all over the court, block everything, and just dunk in their faces. Robinson and Rodman are both fast. They can't shoot threes. That's the one downfall of those two guys. But luckily, Elliott comes off the bench, and he's above average player. He's got a 6 and 3-pointers. So their only weakness, I would say, is the 3-point shooting. But otherwise, they're all big players, and they're all good. You have to use the Spurs if you're playing in this tournament.
Definitely. And now here's a weird little thing, and I don't care. It's something that me and Kevin do. But when me and Kevin use the Spurs, we keep Elliott in the whole game.
Really?
We try to, yeah, and then we use Rodman and Robinson off the bench. We try to keep him in as long as we can because he's so middle tier that, like, say you need a three, say you have to have a three, you could shoot a three with him. I mean, that's just it's not important. I don't care. Like, that's not like a big strategy for me and Kevin, but yeah, like that's something that I've noticed with me and him is we keep Elliott in the game. Try to anyway.
Yeah,
But then you do have a three
yeah.
shooter kind of.
And it also helps just in terms of like keeping guys fresh. Like if you can keep, you keep Elliott in and just let him get, a little banged up. Yeah, he can make the three. He's above average in every stat. He is your only 3-point threat, but it also keeps Robinson and Rodman healthy through the whole game. That way you still have, no matter what, you still have that big menacing forward who's for the most part, he's going to stay relatively injury free or at least like clean through the whole game. Just if you're playing doubles, it's play rock, paper, scissors to like bite the dust and maybe just have to be stuck with Sean Elliott for 3 quarters or something. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's just think about it. I mean, if you can get to the fourth quarter in a close game, then all of a sudden we have Robinson with a 6 or a 7 and a pretty much injury free Rodman. That sucks, So like we try to keep Elliott in the game.
And you solve your 3-point woes if you're Robinson and Robin, you just beat the crap out of people, play good defense, just catch them on fire. If you can get one of them on fire, that immediately alleviates your 3-point woes.
Yep.
All right, and final of this bracket is the iconic Utah Jazz. So the big thing here is you got Karl Malone, who's just again, he's one of those stud, players like we were talking about with Robinson and Olajuwon. And then you got some nasty 3-point with Stockton and Hornacek. The thing is, Stockton, he's a short guy, so you're going to have that. There is one thing that I was kind of testing things around is, so Stockton has 0 power, but when he shoves a guy, he's not going to fall down, but he'll still that person will record a 1 injury on him, from what I found when just kind of messing around one time. So even though he might not get the ball out, he is doing a damage to take it to that second quarter.
This is a weird one for me. I don't like the Jazz. I don't like being them. Like, they're obviously a usable team in the tournament, and if you made a deep run, you might have to use the Jazz. But for me personally, I would avoid it. I just don't like their inability to block. It's a problem for me.
Yeah, I would say the Jazz are another team where if you have one dominant player, like one of your guys is better than the other guys, like human player, Malone's a beast. He's also one of the best players in the game. But Stockton and Hornacek, they both could shoot threes. So if you have a supporter guy who could shoot threes, that's going to be your best option using the Jazz. But if 2 players are as equal as Kevin and Ryan playing in the tournament, then they're probably not a top pick.
And you're probably going to see a lot of Jazz because that's a memory most people have. You'll probably see a lot of Jazz in the tournament, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
We played a lot of Jazz last year. We played a couple guys that used them.
So kind of recap this thing really quick. Houston, Stone Cold, and San Antonio. If you're gonna lose 2 games in the tournament, you should probably be Houston and San Antonio and be done. Those are where you want to go to. Dallas just doesn't have enough. Denver's right on that fringe. If you can get a few wins, you might be playing with Denver. And then again, Minnesota, you might be able to sneak out some wins later in the tournament. And Utah's another one you're probably going to be playing with if you're playing deeper into the tourney.
Yep, I agree. Spurs and Rockets, 2 of the best teams in the game.
Gotta use them.
All right, here we go. I'm going to fall asleep here. It's getting past my bedtime, so I'm going to go a little quicker.
Okay. Third conference, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, third conference. Hawks, not a bad team. Mookie's short. Ogman is way rated high in this game, with 8s and 7s all across the board. He's a great player. He's a really underrated player in this game. 8, 7, 7, 7 all over. And then you got the enforcer, Kevin Willis, with a ton of power and some dunk. But you got a short Mookie. That's probably the drawback.
Yeah, that's another weird one. Kevin loves the Hawks. He should talk about them.
I'm glad I made it back just in time. Sorry, it's still at work. They needed me to hook up a Tecmo. So
Okay.
Kevin,
But,
you like the Hawks? Talk about the Hawks.
yeah, they're a really interesting team on Sega Genesis. I mean, it's just Stacey Augman, like his stats are completely screwed up in this game. If you play the arcade version, he is complete garbage. He has like 2s across the board, but for some reason they give him like 7s and 8s across the board in this. He kind of has like a Gugliotta-esque kind of player on the squad. And Mookie Blaylock, I mean, he's fast, but he doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table as a small guy. And then Willis, Kevin Willis, is that right? Yeah, it's like Kevin Willis. I mean, he's not very fast, but I mean he's incredibly serviceable. He's just a big power guy. He can block stuff, so he's by no means a defensive liability, and he can kind of last 3/4 in the game. Like I like him in that kind of like that mid-tier kind of category. Like, are they like a tournament-ready team? If you like them, they still suffer from not having a third big guy on the squad, but. I'd say they're kind of in that kind of 10-12 range where you might need to play with a team like that.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Next huge one. Here we go. This is probably the triumvirate of awesome teams here. Is the Charlotte Hornets. Teal forever, baby. They're just stacked. So the Charlotte Hornets, they have like kind of what Morning and Johnson are kind of like the Rodman and Robinson, but they got all that. Plus, they all have 5s and 3 points, so they can hit it down. I would say probably the best 2-man combo in the game. The drawback is you got Muggsy, who isn't bad. He's got 9 speed and 7 3 points, but he's short, and it's kind of a shock coming in there. I suppose you could kind of play him how you guys play with the Spurs, where you're keeping that 3-point guy in the game, maybe. But top team.
His 9 steal, like I've had a lot of success actually stealing the ball from people, like not pushing them, but stealing the ball from people with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
your team you got to use though. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I would say Hornets are top tier. Like you said, Morning and Larry Johnson are probably one of the best combos, if not the best. And then Bogues is almost exactly how you would want a small guy to be for his stats. His 3-point could be a little bit higher. It's only a 7. But, yeah, that steal 9 is huge, and the speed at 9 super fast. So that's how you want your small guy to be if you got to use one.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to add to that, but just top 3 team. That's all I got to say. Top 3 team in the game.
Top 3. All right, Tom, we'll have your hometown thing on here. The only thing I'm going to say is that in the, at least opening up the Guts SNES version, Pippin's got a 10 dunk. He's one of the guys that has a hidden stat in there, the Johnny Johnson hidden stat.
Their biggest drawback, depending on play style, is that their power is low. And as you know, more power on pushes means more steals, getting the ball, and the Bulls don't have that. They are pretty well balanced, though. Pippen he's got speed, he can dunk, he can play a little defense. Armstrong, he's your clutch guy, he could shoot 3-pointers. And then Kukoc is kind of like the do-it-all type of dude. The only bad thing about Kukoc is he's got a 2 dunk, so he will shoot a lot of layups. So the Bulls, they're pretty much a mid-tier team. You're going to see them a lot, and you should be able to take advantage of them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, they're just the team just based off of notoriety of the 1990s. They're kind of the sexy pick. But in this game, you don't get Michael Jordan. And, it's like you're saying, again, like Tony Kukoc has, in my opinion, some weird stats. Like he's a 2 dunk for when you're like 6'7" or 6'8" player in real life, something like that. And
6'10".
Just a lack of power on the team, even though they got
bias is what they did.
And just BJ Armstrong, just another short, speedy guy who can kind of shoot 3s. I mean, you can't do it all with Scotty. So it's just, and that's what kind of like brings them back down to that kind of, that, like you're saying, maybe that kind of low mid-tier kind of mentality. Do I think they're a tournament playable team? I would probably pass on them.
Yeah, if this is your first tournament and you're playing in this, be very apprehensive about picking the Bulls.
All right, next up, we got the Cleveland's kind of the Stockton Malone. Price is one of those guys that has that high 3-pointers. He's short, 8 speed. He's also got a rating in the game, at least an SAS version. He's got a 10 steal, not a 9 steal that it's listed. Then you got Brad Doherty, who's a big galoot. He's got 7, but he's got 7 speed. Is that right? Yeah, that's pretty amazing for a big dude like that. 6 power, 7 block, 8 dunk. So he's going to be your beast. And then you got the serviceable, not Dominique Wilkins. Was it Jared Wilkins? 6s. He only got 3 and a 3-pointer, but 9 on block. What is up with this team? I guess I haven't looked at them. They're a little deeper than I think. What do you guys think about that?
Like you said, they're a lot like Utah. Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, Cleveland's just weird. Like you could use Cleveland in a deep run. You really could. They can actually be a pain.
But yeah, it's like you're saying, it's a very good comparison. You know, it's like Cleveland is sort of like Utah and that kind of Price Doherty, Stockton Malone kind of thing. Just the difference on this one is instead of with Utah, you have like Hornacek, who's a big guy who can kind of block but shoot the threes. You get Gerald Wilkins, who not super fast but just very solid defensive player. So it's just that's your third players, that kind of stylistic differences.
You got some Bash brothers here with Doherty and Wilkins with a 7 block and a 9 block and a what's his power? He's got a little low, but they got lower power, like 6 power. They're not enforcers, but they can do some damage, I think.
Yeah, I think the Cavs can sneak up on somebody. The thing about the Cavs is their players aren't really flashy, who you would want to pick in an NBA Jam game in the 90s, so people won't pick them, but they're a usable team. Gerald Wilkins was a shooting guard. Not sure why he's a 9 block, but he is. And Mark Price, again, he's exactly how you'd want a small player to be if you're using him. So.
All right, Detroit. I don't know much about Detroit. You got it's past bad boy time because you don't got Lambeer and Isaiah Thomas and Mahorn. Joe Dumars, I think, is a short guy, isn't he?
Sorry, they're talking about the Pistons. I don't care about the Pistons.
Yeah, Dumars is a sharp guy, but he's got the 8 speed, 7 3-point. Not much for power. Terry Mills is just one of those serviceable guys across the board, 7s and actually not too bad. 7 speed, 6 3-point, 6 power, 7 blocks, 6 dunk. That ain't bad. And then Andre Miller, the big O, coming in again with 7 speed, 6. You know, this Miller and Mills team ain't too bad. They kind of got that Golden State where they got it all, 7s and 6s across the board.
Yeah, they're like Golden State with a short guy. Golden State with a short guy, kind of. But I don't know. I'm always apprehensive. I don't think that I would pick Detroit. Like if I could avoid them, I would avoid them.
Yeah, I only like using Detroit if you get those extended rosters where they could get Grant Hill, because then you got 3 guys that are like solid at everything. But in this tournament, Dumars is good, but he's a short player, not as good as some of the other guys we already talked about. And Mills and Oliver Miller don't have anything flashy enough to make you want to use them.
Yeah, they're not flashy, but they're not bad. I'm surprised at their stats. So they ain't bad. It's average. All right, here we go. Let's hear it from the Indiana boys here.
Oh, man.
What's the secret?
Oh, hey, Reggie Miller is the bomb. That's the secret. And then if you give Kevin Rick Schmitz, magical things happen. So, yeah, typically a mid-tier team, but if you're me and Kevin, they're right up there. We can make magical things happen with the Indiana Pacers.
When will you be playing with them? In the beginning, and are you going to close with them?
Well, I don't know. Ryan, are we going to play with Indiana? I don't know.
I mean, considering that I mean, just based on odds, Segathon, based on odds, we're going to be playing nothing but San Antonio, Orlando, and Houston because everybody thinks that we're like world beaters. So I don't know if we'll see a Pacers sighting if we can.
Boo.
But yeah. But yeah, I would suspect if me and Kevin use the Pacers, it will be in the middle or the beginning of the tournament.
You know, save the big boys for the end, but yeah, they really are just. I mean, they're just kind of a mid-tier team. They're definitely tournament playable, probably somewhere in that like 9 to 12 team range, what have you. But Reggie Miller is Reggie Miller. There's not a whole lot to explain about that. If you don't know who Reggie Miller is, then maybe playing NBA Jam isn't for you. But yeah, McKee is not great. He's slow as molasses and doesn't have any real attributes that jump off the screen. And just Rick Smith is just a slow, big body that can block everything. I mean, but there's much better teams that have that and more on their squad. So, middle of the road team with Reggie Miller.
Yeah,
Tom's probably. I was gonna say Tom's probably very bitter about the Pacers. He probably doesn't want to talk about the Pacers. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, no, the Pacers are usable. The one thing I could say about them, they have all tall players, and Reggie Miller can knock down those threes. So yeah, you can use them, and you could take a loss to them too, as I found out.
All right, and the last one of this group is the Milwaukee Bucks that I don't know much about other than Murdoch ain't bad with it. He's got the 8 speed and 8 3-pointers. They got not much going on in the dunk area, but you got Vin Baker can be an enforcer with a 9 power. They're a low tier. It'd be like a Chicago Green Bay matchup in Tecmo. These guys.
I feel like the only way the Milwaukee Bucks are good is if Tony Aranga's using them.
Yeah, there we go.
He was pretty damn good.
I mean, it is a team. It is a team that has three big players, and they're you got some guys with some 8s and 9s and stats, but just off the top of my head, trying to remember, it's like they don't have like they're not real good like defensively, or they don't have like a big like power forward on that squad. They're just kind of like the middling in the middle, and power blocking, dunks.
Yeah, Vin Baker's got a little bit going on, but yeah, he doesn't have anything else. So it's a team I'd stay away from.
But yeah, it's a team that has three big players, but just they don't have like the go-to guy in the squad, and that's why I can't say they're more than just like a low mid-tier team.
So to recap this guy here, Charlotte, you better be using them. You might even use them before Houston and San Antonio, and then after that, you got Chicago, Cleveland, Atlanta maybe if you get later in the tournament, Indiana. But Charlotte's the one that sticks out here.
Yeah, I would say you got Charlotte and then a bunch of usable teams.
Yeah, no flash, but that's how it goes. All right, last group. Boston again. No Larry Legend, even though you can use a code to get Larry in the game, you can't use him in the tournament. You got Don't Sweat the Technique, Dominique Wilkins, 8 speed, and 9 dunk, 8 block, 8 clutch, 6 3-pointers. He ain't bad. Power's low though, only 3 power. Dino Raja's rated weird with a 9 3-point and 8 steal, and then not much else. And then you got D Brown, who's a little shorter, and he's got that whole speed, but he's got the 8 dunk. He's kind of got the Spud Webb mold and 7 3-points.
Is that? I assume it just stems off of the dunk contest for him, right?
Yeah, exactly. No luck dunk.
So if you're new, I would cross the Boston Celtics off your list.
Nope. Yeah, I wouldn't use them.
They're unique. You got Raja, big player, shoots the 3. And then, like Nick said, D Brown can dunk, so that's good for a small player. Only a few guys are like that. Spud Webb's the other guy, so you can use them, but they're a mid-lower tier team, I think.
Mid-lower team. All right, now we got the Heat. Glenn Rice is the main. This is a nice fast. It's a fast, low-power team. Is the way to say it. What do we got? Miner's got 9 speed, and then 9 dunk. So he's got that kind of fast dunk guy, and 5 3-pointers. So you got to respect it. And then Glenn Rice is that 7 speed, 9 3-point. But there's no defense on this team.
No, the Heat might overall be the fastest combined team in the game, but
Yeah.
they're also like the worst power team. So like I hate using the Heat. They're totally usable. If you're new, you could use them. But like I personally hate them because they get trashed because their power's so low.
Yeah, they're an offensive juggernaut of a squad. They're all the players are fast. They can dunk. They can shoot threes. Their biggest problem is like keeping them healthy, because they just like you shove them and then they just like break into glass into like 1,000 pieces, and then you get to the third or fourth quarter and they just become almost unusable. And that's just the thing. Is just being able to keep the squad healthy, which, you know, otherwise, you know, they would be, if it wasn't for that, they'd be a top 10 team easy. You know, it's that still might be a usable team tournament wise, but it's just you got to keep them healthy somehow.
Yeah, see, I would say that the Heat are a top-tier team for sure. They do have that lack of power, but the speed and dunking and three-point shooting makes up for it. They're a unique team. If you play the right opponent, you can run up the score big time. The Heat are one of those teams you just have to know how to use. I know going into last year's tournament, we were looking to use the Heat later. So if you know how to use them, they're a good team.
Yeah, you can't push
They're
them.
like they're like the Rams of Tecmo.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Rams of NBA Jam.
All right, next up, we got one of these Sean Kemp type of teams with DC Derek Coleman. Kevin, you want to get into this? You wrote them up on the site. They're a nice team.
Yeah, I wrote a little bit about them. Yeah, Derek Coleman is just an incredible talent on the team, and you know, this is right after, like I wrote, this is right after, like, in the middle of his 2 or 3 years where he just dominated the league, and the stats show for it as well. You got Kenny Anderson, who's a pretty solid player as well. You know, he can shoot the three ball. He's fast. And then you got Edwards, who he kind of struggles a little bit, but he's a super weird player in that he's a small player who can block and is powerful, which is just something that you don't see out of your Mark Prices, your John Stocktons, you know, your little guys that have bunches of 8s, 9s to go with their 0s. So he's a very interesting player for sure. And if you can utilize him, you know, it's the Nets are a very solid team in the game.
I love the Nets. And Augman is the best little guy in the game because there's nothing like a fast little guy that could just trash people. And
Edwards. Edwards, you mean?
Or Edwards. Yeah, I don't even know his name, but I know I like him. I love the Nets, and when I was playing Kevin at Tundra Bowl, this is one of the teams that I used against Kevin. One of my favorite teams, and in my opinion, you got to use them if you're going to make a deep run in the tournament.
Yeah, the Nets are a fun team to use. They got the power player and Derek Coleman. Kenny Anderson's got the weird height, and Kevin Edwards got the weird power for a small guy. So they're a unique team, and I would look at using them for sure.
Yes, and the ghost of Drazen Petrovic will put in a couple shots for you. So, okay, here we go. The nasty New York Knicks. It's a power team. It's a beat-you-up team. Go ahead, guys.
Knicks are just flat out a must-use team in this. I like them. I think that they're great. They're kind of like the Spurs with a 3-shooter and Starks. Kevin hates Starks. Kevin, tell us why you hate Starks.
I said it's just for some reason, it's just personal preference. Like his stats, I mean, he should be, and he is. He's just an awesome player in the game. Just for some reason, I just go to dunk with him, clangs it off the rim, shoots threes, airballs them. Aside from that, the Knicks are an absolute must-use tournament team. Ewing is an incredible player, both sides of the floor. Can't make the 3 ball, but hey, I'm not expecting that from the big man. Charles Oakley, a little slower than Ewing, but he's powerful. He can block stuff. He can shove people in the stands. He can beat up people in the stands. You know, it's just all around, and all 3 of them are tall players. So you know, you got that going for you as well.
Yep, fun team to use, top 10 team. You got to use them. The Knicks are powerful, and Starks can shoot some threes.
Definitely. All right, here we go. A fun little team. Of course, we don't have Shaq, but a great team here. You guys want to talk about them, or should I?
Go ahead, Sega.
Go crazy.
All right, so Magic. Big thing with Orlando Magic is, one, there's a secret stat here on Hardaway. He's actually 10 speed. According to this one thing I have, even though it's listed 9 in the game. So in theory, he's the fastest guy in the game. He's got 8 3-pointers, no power, no dunk. But if you got that much speed and that much 3, you're going to do some damage. Plus, you got Nick Anderson, who also is a speedy 3-point, 9 3-pointer, 7 speed. So, and he's got the 6 power, so he's doing okay there. So right now with these 2 guys, you're blowing the doors off with 3s and speed. And then off the benches, you got Horace Grant from the Bulls, 6 speed, 9 power, 9 block. I'd say a top-tier team.
Most people consider that to be the best team in the game. So I would say that yeah, they're a must use for sure. Having 2-3 shooters and a power guy is something else. So yeah, I'll let you guys take it from there. But if you're playing and you're new, all tall guys, must use team.
Yeah, I like the Orlando Magic. I wouldn't say they're the best team in the game, but they do a little bit of everything. Nick Anderson, he can do it all. Penny Hardaway, besides push, he's a big player. Shoot threes, dunk. Or actually, isn't his dunk rating kind of low?
Yeah, it's low. It's 3.
Yeah, so that's one weakness for the Magic. And then Horace Grant's your power guy. His speed's pretty decent. So they got a little bit of everything, and they're a team you want to use. Top 5, I would say, top tier team.
The one thing here on playing these teams that can shoot the 3 ball, if you can time it right, if you wait for the guy to shoot, you can push his legs out, and he's not going to get that 3-point shot off. So if their guys are hungry for the 3, that's another thing you can do is just wait to see that jump motion, and then you push them, and they go into the stands.
Did you learn that from the tips in between quarters?
No, that's this tip right here, baby. This tip.
Hey, easier said than done, sir.
All right, Philly. You got a 7'6" Sean Bradley, but he's only looks about 6'5" in the game. Kevin, you like these guys, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely like him in the arcade. Again, it's like you said, it's Bradley's in the arcade version. Bradley's 7'6", and he's 7'6" in the game. Like, yeah, arcade legitimately can block balls without jumping in the air. Like, you can just let him sit there flat foot, and sometimes he'll just block the guy. It's incredible. But yeah, unfortunately, in this game, like you said, yes, he's just another big guy. He's just as big as Kenny Anderson. You know, it's but
yeah,
it's just sad. But
don't use them. Don't use them.
Yeah, it's that there's not a whole lot that I can say. I mean, they have three big guys. You know, like Weatherspoon and Bradley they're 2 big blockers, but like again, there's nothing really that stands out for the squad. Like none of them are really fast. I mean, none of them can really shoot the 3 ball that well. It's just they're just kind of they bring nothing. I can't recommend them for the tournament as much as I love them in the arcade.
All right, and lastly, a team that you probably will use in the game, Chris Webber is just a stud. Washington Bullets, not Wizards, Bullets, 8 speed, 9 power, 8 dunk, 8 block, and 4 for 3 points, so he can get one in once in a while. Then you got Calbert Cheney, who's at 8 speed, 8 3-point, no power, and that's about it. And then you got the Dirty Scott Skiles, who's a shorty, but he's got 9 3-point, 7 speed. So Weber's kind of like your Karl Malone, and then you got 2 guys that can shoot the 3, kind of like the Jazz, but I'd say maybe even a little better.
Yeah, the Bullets are one of my favorite teams in the game. Love using them. I would say that they're like a little bit worse than the Nets, but kind of high on my list. So if you're new, I would say that they're definitely somebody you should consider using if you make a deep run. You should exhaust your other options first, but they got to be somebody you consider.
Yeah, Chris Webber is a dominant player. He's really fun to use in this. He could do a little bit of everything, dunk all over the place. He's fast. And I think Calbert Cheney and Scott Skiles are perfect supporter players for him. So they're a top-tier team, and I would use them in the tournament for sure.
Cool, that's it. All right.
So Sega,
we're not going to go through all 20 rookies.
Yeah, here we go. Yinka Dare. Let's go about talking about Yinka Dare. Wild Bill Curley, Eric Montross. No, I'm good.
Sega, are you going to get to play in this year's tournament?
I hope so. I was running around with my hair on fire last time. That's why I kicked NHL 95 to the curb, even though it's my favorite game of all time. Focusing on one is going to be the way to do it this year.
I want to play Segathon. I hope that your team plays our team.
Well, I'm hoping so too. Murray's got
the T-Wolves.
Oh yeah, we'll do it. T-Wolves Pacers. But Murray's got this new software to use, so I won't be running around with a bunch of sheets of paper. So this new software is going to really come in handy. doing it. So we want to make sure people get there by 5:30 to register. A lot of people have pre-registered, but let's just get there on time. And it's going to be a little less chaotic, I think, than last year with the craziness of how big and loud it was last year. It'll be a little quieter there, even though it'll still be fun and crazy. It's not going to be that nuts. So looking forward to it.
Do you have a Segathon, since you're kind of a commissioner? Do you have any numbers right now?
Dave estimated about 30 jammers right now.
Is that between the 1-on-1 and the 2-on-2?
I think it's a mixture. Most of the time, most people are doing both. So we're going to have to, we might make a call once we get everything going if it's going to mess up a little bit, but we're going to have people be able to do both. Right now, what we have is I have 10 four-ways, and we got about 15 carts between us. So it's going to really, because the games are only 10 minutes. So we can really get that through, get that flowing if we got enough stations and everything. It's just a matter of, with the other stuff going on with Tecmo and Tetris and everything else.
I could bring my card if you need it.
Yeah, that'd be great if you could.
And
Kevin,
one last,
bring one of the 20 cards that you have, Kevin. You probably have 10 of them at least.
That's ridiculous. I only have 4.
Nick, I got one more question for you, and then I'm going to ask a couple questions from the chat. So what's the entry fee this year for the tournament, and what are the prizes?
Big zero now. If you did, it was $10 at one point, but I think a couple sponsors stepped up, so it's going to be $150 per winner, per singles and per doubles. So it'll be a nice little chunk of change to pay for your bar tab, all Madison.
Cool. Awesome. All right, so I got a couple questions from the chat, and this one is for all of us. I believe it was Adam. He wants to know if we're going to the NBA Jam tournament in Colorado. Kevin, I know you were interested in that one.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's on the back burner for me. It's definitely something that I want to try and do. I haven't looked into it in probably about a month. Last time I did was I didn't really find like a whole lot of like information regarding if it's like singles, doubles, or if there's like a double elimination. Didn't really see like a whole lot of it's like the format, rules, what have you. So I want to look back into it. I definitely love to make the trip. But yeah, I'm still in that 50-50 limbo right now.
Yeah. They're offering huge prizes, but like you said, the specifics are a little mucky.
Yeah, I mean, I have an uncle that lives in Littleton, Colorado, which is really close to Denver, and I would love to go to it, but I got to know what's happening first. For example, like if it's on the arcade, like I would have to practice that pretty legitimately before I would be like ready for that, because I'm so used to like the Sega version of it. But I would be up for going if it was if I knew exactly what it was, like Kevin was stating. And if it's 2-on-2, I definitely want to go with Kevin, because I think we'd be all right.
From what I gathered from the information that they had, it's 1-on-1 in like a 2-day tournament. So yeah, we need to get some more details on that, and then maybe we'll talk to them on this channel later and see what it's all about. And then last question before I let you guys go: who is your favorite secret character in NBA Jam? We'll start with Nick.
I gotta go because of Tecmo. QB Eagles, Randall Cunningham, baby.
Good pick. Good pick. Ryan?
If I had to pick my favorite secret character, I would go with the old Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith.
For me, like in the arcade, I'd probably go with the combo team of Sub-Zero and Raiden. But on the home console, I got to go with the little dude, Milo Stubbington.
I didn't even know that was a character.
No, that's a good one.
My favorite's Frank Thomas, Chicago White Sox.
Oh yeah,
plays with the baseball hat on. You can't go wrong with him. I think he's only in like the console versions. I don't think he made an arcade appearance. So Acclaim kind of went wild with the characters they put in the game. I don't think they got permission.
No, that was a Wild West back then.
Yeah, when we were talking to Rayon, that's coming out with the NBA Jam book, he was telling us how they really didn't get permission to use their likeness, and they were just putting them in the game.
So that's why it says Fresh Prince, not Will Smith, huh?
Yeah.
That's how you get the legal loopholes. There you go. That's how you keep things safe and don't get like cease and desist letters, probably.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks a lot for joining me tonight, and good luck to everyone in the tournament. And see you guys at Tecmo Madison. Have a good night.
I'm pumped.
Thanks, Tom.
Great job.